corporate social responsibility. And I want something that allows students to be able to have a seat at the table at it, because that's the one thing that has been missing in a lot of the engagement, is how do students have a chance to play a part in the evolution of whatever becomes the real product or the real movement. So, man, so what do we do next? I mean, is somebody going to help? I mean, I can speak it. I can continue to make sure I hold down the vision, so it's tight, and try to bring on more people. What's the next step?
A project.
Why don't you let us go ahead and build the framework right now, Kev? I think I know where you need me to contribute immediately. I can build that framework inside of 10 days and then report back to the team.
Okay.
So that we can demonstrate, and then any type of changes, then I'll make those revisions, and then we'll have a tool that we can actually communicate by and actually, put to use. I would also suggest that you consider, Kev, making something tactile, because this whole E3 collective concept that's being created right this minute, it works well on the web, but as a tangible type of magazine, something that you can leave behind, I can get behind that.
So
that sure doesn't exist already.
Yeah, that's huge. I was just gonna say, one thing I think could be interesting around the project and or a challenge is there's a group called Skilled, SKILD.com. And these are guys who sprung out of X Prize, which is a challenge infrastructure around these larger scale initiatives. And they have significant traction with, the Cisco's, the National Science Foundation. You go down the line and they're all putting in, prize packages in the range of $350K to $1 million in some cases. Now there's a spectrum from junior high to professional even, but I think having either a partner like that or at least an initiative around how to approach the folks that you just mentioned, AT&T, Sony, Apple, about, hey, here's the challenge that we're doing in this space. And maybe it's a consortium of other groups that actually are more aligned with the 3 E's for us specifically here. But I think there's something around getting a very tangible project that would have some milestones that would fit nicely to storytelling, and have kind of almost like a talent show like communication opportunity on these digital channels that we'll be setting up, so that you get people maybe even beyond LA involved, but certainly here in this city excited about it, plugged in, and that there's a tangible kind of result that's frankly got value for these companies that would sponsor this.
So I want to point out something I think you alluded to, and at least for me, we start in LA, but we don't stop in LA.
There you go.
So LA becomes the lab to start it, to get it right, and then to take it, obviously with tweaking for whatever next urban environment we go into, recognizing whatever is unique about that area. But LA is the big market. You start here, and then others will follow.
Right, and also extending what you just said was great. There's opportunities to do this in the rural space too. I'm a rural baby myself, down in Louisiana. So there's a guy named Dr. Chris Jones who runs innovation kind of foundry effectively in Little Rock, Arkansas. And he and I were talking probably back in October about, could we do an innovation challenge over the course of maybe a month across several cities? Maybe they're sort of semi-simultaneous, but you can kind of connect these challenges through these epicenters of activity.
You find something that's common among all of them. And I guess the question I'm going to put out there, and I suspect I know the answer is.
One quick thing that just from what you said before I forget this, sorry to interrupt you. Just from what you just said about doing innovation challenges, I think if you're able to incorporate that in a way where you can engage students in various classrooms to be teams or be put on teams within their schools to help tackle these challenges within that increment of 15 or 10 minutes of time frame. It would allow them to start practicing critical thinking, and they'd actually be able to see the results of their critical thinking being played out through these challenges that they're working on, especially if these challenges aren't just like working towards a grand prize, but they're actually being utilized, and then we get to see the results of all those things that were put together. It would be a big motivator for students of all ages to then begin to start thinking more critically and to actually start thinking more innovatively and wanting to do more than just, get a part-time job at like, McDonald's or Walmart or something.
One of the biggest outcomes is teaching these people how to collaborate.
So one of the things to add to your potential partners is Skilled, S-K-I-L-D. And again, they run these specific types of challenges globally with us, S-K-I-L-D.
Right.
.com.
ILD.
I know those guys very well. So anyway, I just want to put that out there in terms of like getting really tactical. I can go ahead and start the conversation with Ian. We were talking about potentially doing this, and what they've done in places like India is had Cisco come in at a very, very robust level and do this type of work, and they really do use the output.
Okay.
Man.
Can I talk about a couple of elephants in the room? At least for me, I'm very intentional in terms of what my focus is, who my focus is, and to the extent that we have the opportunity to work with folks. So I looked at Skilled. I know who's on the board. There's no one who looks like us on that team. It'd be great to work with them, but if we're going to be intentional, at least if there are private dollars involved, then I want to know
whether Skilled is the right vendor or not.
Right.
It's like, well, what are the must-haves for us in terms of if we need to have representation at every level? Okay, that's great. Then we need to spend the time
or
to find
is there an
people. Or
opportunity to train someone if this is something that this collective decides they want to do on an annual basis? So you can either continue to pay Skilled to administer that, or you build your own in-house capacity. I want for every opportunity that we have where we have to go outside to also build that skill set. It becomes an opportunity to train a group of folks who want to go out and to administer that. The other thing is you were talking about, and I'm sorry, I think it was Shoni, who was talking about giving students the opportunity to kind of learn. How familiar are you, Shoni, with, for example, the Department of Energy's Science Bowl?
Not at all.
So DWP is one of the sponsors of Science Bowl. The same high schools typically win it, but it's something that's done within LAUSD. DWP has a nationwide competition, and they're answering questions around science. They don't have anything physically that they're doing. But again, so LAUSD is familiar with doing that, and that's something that can be done within LA County nationally, either with who you spoke with. It's a common problem, and if we want to have it addressed, attacked by local schools or whatever, and then have that curriculum built in so that they come up with teams that compete to solve a problem.
And in that case, what is the kind of like result of those goals?
What the result should be, as I've told DWP staff, for example, if we're investing in all of these students to do this, we should have automatic internships for them. We don't. But that could be something else. If we're targeting, for example, a problem, this year, this bowl will be focused on clean air emissions or figuring out indoor air quality. And then depending on who the partners are, if you win, you get an internship at these companies to be able to do that. So it's related to something.
So other than the internship pathway, which is an awesome one, are there any other kind of prize elements or kind of incentives?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I just asked because a lot of the challenge with folks in our kind of world that we're looking to work with and grow in this way, I mean, unless they can find their way to some sort of revenue, or
right,
it's really hard for them and the parents to allow their schedules to shift the way it needs to shift to do these things. So,
or is that a paid internship to participate in it up front instead of at the back end?
Maybe. I mean, I'm putting it out there in terms of like how we think about it. And this is why I'm just really curious to find out how in our description of this to Sony, for instance,
Right.
to Cisco, what do they really need to provide us? Because I think the intern and apprenticeship thing, that's a bigger commitment than, and frankly, some of the environments are not great once they get in it. So, so anyway,
that's a fact.
Yeah.
And again, Mr. Alexander, you'll probably realize that the Mobile World Congress LA, they're going to start trying to figure out what can we do to insert something after Barcelona. I have a meeting with some people in March about what we can do to start trying to put together a project plan for at least USC and UCLA. That's what they were interested in, trying to figure out how to make them partners in Mobile World Congress LA. And both partners from USC and UCLA are diversity people. Whether basically it's a guy named Jay Tucker and Michelle Turner.
Oh, I know Michelle.
Yeah, so we're trying to figure out ways to start looking at Mobile World Congress LA in October to do little workshops and meetups and little milestones before it comes in October, Mobile World Congress.
Understood.
There's one other organization called SIGGRAPH that is for visual effects and computer engineers and arts and entertainment. They're going to meet up in DC, working with them, and they have a diversity initiative to try to get more people to look at the opportunities inside of that space. And again, everywhere we're going to look for greener grass, there won't be people looking like us. So we got to figure out some kind of way to infiltrate.
So I got to unfortunately jump, but I just want to say this is really great. I think we're landing multiple next steps. I'm really interested in seeing Lyle's challenge, basically, the challenge kind of prompt and what we can do there. And whether it's, just getting some consultancy from Skilled or finding the right group to actually be our true partner on a deep dive of like, let's build a real kind of like program to go and get sponsorship from you and others. I think we're headed in a really strong direction on frankly realizing a lot of the passions that you have here. So cool.
Wow. Okay. Well, so Lyle, again, man, just anything we can do to help you with that, with that deliverable. Again, I'm going to put together an attempt to make sure we're working either Google Doc or if we have another system where we can all work on things we can provide input. If not, I'll just use a Google Doc so we have a working document to look at.
Hey, the very next time that we meet, I'll have a domain address. I'll purchase it. I'll load some things on a server, and then all of us will have our login credentials to log in, and we can start testing we'll be testing this model amongst one another until we decide that it's good enough to go ahead and go out into the public.